Cool.
Yeah. Fun times.
I'm really over it. My kids are outside right now, thank God.
Take advantage of as much as you can. We got the house open a little bit. Oh my goodness, I can't stop
Yeah,
yawning.
we
It's
do
like that
too.
spring forward thing really jacked me up good. Okay.
I was good with it only because I had the kids sleep with me in the basement on Friday night as like, look, I'm a fun mom and we're camping,
Sure.
which was completely selfish on my part because they both suck at thunderstorms. So, with me being solo this weekend because my husband was traveling, it's like I don't want to have to be like ping pong ball between the rooms. And like we have a strict you do not come in the bedroom in our bedroom policy. It's just like a boundary. Like I can't sleep with you sleeping in the bed with me. Like I can't. And so my tactic was to keep them both down there because then if one of them woke up, then it wasn't a big deal. I just did not sleep because I was A, on a couch, B, I have a cold, C, it's I'm anticipating like when the first one's gonna wake up because I'm like, oh, there goes the thunder. And they never did. They never woke up.
It's good. I didn't wake up
But
either.
they fell asleep probably at like 9 because I like we were watching a movie down there. And then so they woke up at 5 a.m. and I was up like every hour, hour and a half. And so yesterday morning, and then we had 8 a.m. basketball, which was an absolute joy for not having any sleep in a cold and solo parenting. It was electric. So last night I slept like a dead person.
Some That's great.
I like drew the blackout shades last night and I was like, I will wake up when they wake up, which will be at a normal time because of the time change. So sure enough, I like wake up and my youngest is like, the sun's out. And I'm like, oh, good news. What time is it? What year is it?
Okay. Well, so recording on a spring forward weekend. It's been a long week. Lots of stuff happening. Full moons and retrograding planets and political junk and yeah,
It's International Women's Day.
it is today. I was thinking about that. I was like, "Oh, I should do a post about that," but that would require me to, be clever, and I don't know if I got that in me on a Sunday
I
afternoon.
could maybe work on that tonight. And scrolling.
Yeah. Yeah, the doom scrolling. I got to go back to my rule I had for myself, which was about you have to create more than you consume. And I'd been doing really well, and I've kind of fallen off of that in the state of the world. So, I got to get back to that.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you have made it through the first few minutes of us rambling on about what's going on in our lives, welcome to our podcast, Enneagram Adventure, where Tannah and I talk about life and experience and growth and all that kind of stuff through the lens of the Enneagram. Sometimes we talk about the structures in the Enneagram and how they work together. Yeah, what else?
Probably due for another one of those, by the way. No, just that the Enneagram is a measure of your core motivation and not your behaviors. So it goes layers deeper than any other traditional personality assessment that you may have taken before. And maybe you know your Enneagram and you're here listening. But yeah, let's get into excuses.
Uses. The idea for today's podcast was sort of came from a post I saw from a therapist where she was talking about the use of I am statements and how that makes things much more difficult when we're using I am statements. And we've talked about this before, kind of about different situations, right? Like when we talk about certain numbers, we talk about it a lot when we talk about fours, right? Like not not that you are sad, it's that you feel sad, right? So we've touched on this, but we're going to try to go a little deeper on that into each type, because a lot of times people learn their type and then they attach that type to their identity and they use it as the excuse for why they do things the way they do. So they have the awareness, but now they're kind of using their type as the excuse.
It's kind of when the work stops at the knowledge of the number. Oof. Well, I don't know what number you want to start with. I'm trying to think of an example because we hear this a lot. You and I hear this a lot about people who have their number and then it's the excuse. It's well, I'm a 3, so forgive me for not having emotion.
Right.
Or, yeah, I'm direct. I'm an 8. Get over it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we hear that kind of stuff a lot.
Yes. You make an interesting point there that goes along with this topic, which is it's not just I'm a this number, but it's also then, now that you know my number, you should now forgive everything I do because now you know. So that's also an interesting sort of play on that, right? Like now you're kind of putting that on someone to forgive you because you know your number.
We all knew that person or know that person in your life that, let's say they're direct. Like, well, yeah, I'm direct. Like, that's just who I am. Get over it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
We
A
all
little
have
bit
that.
of, yeah, a little bit of the I am who I am, so that's not my problem. Or your feelings are not my problem. Which there's a level of that that's healthy. But today we're not talking about the healthy side of that kind of thing. We're not talking about like healthy authenticity or like healthy ways of showing up. We're talking about when you know you've done something and you're using it as an excuse.
Yeah.
Yes? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point to bring up and if we think about authenticity, right? Even those statements around I am, I keep using this one. I am direct. It's not necessary. It's while it might read as authentic, it's the and yes and like are you working on that? Are you wanting people to meet you where you're at? There's a level deeper that makes it truly authentic. But the excuse, and I'm going to say this again, that we hear this a lot because it's hard for people
The rarest
to
one.
identify that now they know the thing about themselves and their number. The so what is kind of the question that's being either avoided or just isn't front of mind when we're using an excuse. So, an excuse that I have with my number is I just can't help myself. I care so much. It's like a positive spin on something that I'm anticipating somebody's needs that could be incorrect or correct. I don't know. I'm not having proper boundaries. I am expending energy at the expense of me feeling like I'm purchasing a place in a relationship with someone. That's an excuse that is touching each one of those things in some way as a 2. The bigger questions that happen out of that excuse could be, instead of I just care so much, right? It's I'm feeling insecure in my relationship with you. Therefore, I am doing X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
Or I'm just feeling anxious. Like maybe it's not even about the relationship. Maybe it's about something completely different.
And it's bringing that behavior pattern out in you. I just want
Yeah.
to read from this post really quick before we go into it, because like I think you give a good example to when you talk about like how it could be tied to another feeling, and you also mentioned the questioning things, and so I thought this was really interesting. This post is from Raquel, the capacity expert. I love her. If you don't follow her, she's worth your time. But it starts out, your I am statements are running you. I'm anxious. I'm not good at conflict. I'm independent. I'm the strong one. I'm just not that kind of person. That's labeling. It's when you turn a pattern into an identity. The brain loves labels. They create certainty, and certainty feels safe. But once something becomes who you are, you stop challenging it. You protect it. If you label yourself as anxious, you'll avoid what activates anxiety. If you label yourself as bad at conflict, you'll avoid conflict. If you label yourself as the strong one, you'll never ask for help. Insight doesn't change this. New capacity does. I thought that was super interesting. And when we talk about that, so when the eight's like, I'm direct, now you're also going to protect your directness. So when someone challenges you and is like, the way you said that made me uncomfortable, or maybe you should soften, or could you ask more questions, right? Then you're going to double down on, well, no, I'm direct. I just thought that was super interesting. And even when you talk about being the, like, oh, I'm just helping someone, and that is becoming like part of, this is who I am. This is how I want to show up.
Yep.
And so how do we not get attached to that? In the 5 pattern, there's a couple of the things of that are maybe on the more negative spin of it, right? Like, I don't know enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have as much knowledge, experience, etc. as person A, B, C, D, E over here. Therefore, I'm not capable of. And then it becomes like a block in terms of all of the things that I hopefully would like to accomplish in this lifetime, or that I imagine for myself, because it's like, oh, but I'm attached to this identity over here that's never quite as good as those other people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really frustrating internally to be able to challenge those. It's awareness work. We talk about it a lot. It's a skill that's developed over time that I am nowhere near perfect at. But it's it's not just I think it's important that we call out there could be many excuses that come out of each number, right?
Yeah.
So to your point around yours being negative, mine being a little bit more of the positive. Mine could also be I'm not worthy of that relationship, or so it comes from a little bit of a sad place, and bringing the awareness to where it starts will hopefully stop some of those chaining of behaviors and actions that kind of ladder back to that I am statement. Maybe that's like
Right.
how you can find it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And all
But that's a lot
these,
of work.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And it's like, I think we talked about it. Oh, it's that getting uncomfortable, and like kind of forcing yourself through the discomfort of being different, or no longer willing to not be attached to that identity. What would it mean? What would it mean
Right.
if you weren't attached to that?
Yep.
I think that, to the point of that post, loving labels, sometimes that's, people, me included, fall in love with something like the Enneagram because it creates this sort of label, for lack of a better word. Our goal is never to put anybody in a box, and I don't believe this tool puts anybody in the box, but when you're first learning it, that might be exactly what you do because it like helps you in the moment. But we have to
Yeah.
get to a point that we're going deeper than that we're exploring what it really means to challenge those things. I
A
saw a
good plug
post.
for the work with Brandon, by the way.
Yeah.
This might be
Yes.
because I think it's you learn your number, you learn a little bit of what kind of behaviors are showing up and a little bit of why because of the core motivation side of the Enneagram. But the work with Brandon, for example, that we talk about pretty regularly on here is learning about the very specific situations and patterns that you had growing up that created this why, right? It's your number, and that was a big part of the reason why I was really interested in work with Brandon was because I wanted to know more about what made me that way because I couldn't even remember a lot of the reasons why I turned out that way. So, just a little bit of a plug for it needs to be very intentional that you want to understand and want things to show up different. Or, I mean, even understand other people too. I understand a hell of a lot more about my husband now too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I saw this other post. I don't remember who it was, but it was about, and I think this goes back to the 5, but I bet there are other numbers, 9s probably. And you maybe heard this too growing up. So maybe it's not isolated to just numbers, but it was about hearing how mature I was for my age.
Yes.
And that was like a very common thing that people would say to me. Oh, you're very mature for your age. Oh, you're so much more mature than your peer group. Oh, you're so mature. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And this was unpacking it in a way that really also helped me think about some of the things that I grew up believing and getting attached to around those sorts of sayings. No parent, no adult, no adult who says that means it negative in a negative way. But what happened for me and what's clearly happening for others that are like describing this now is having heard that is that became then the label for shrink your emotions. That became the label for be quieter, be easy, don't step out of line. So it was you were so mature because you kept the adults and you knew how to manage the adults in your life and their emotions. And I was just like, oh God. Right. So this thing that you grew up that was sort of like a badge of honor, then how it like turns you into all these things that are inauthentic as an adult.
Oh
Gross.
yeah. That for sure. I remember going to a medium like 100 years ago one time and I asked a question like, am I an old soul? Because I used to hear that all the time growing, you're so mature, you're this, you're that. She's like, no,
No. Oh man.
no, like, no. I'm like, okay. Whether it's right or wrong, I just bring it up as context. That's like what popped in my head because I was like, yeah,
Well,
I
it's
was
yeah,
told that
it's
all the time growing up. Like,
yeah.
you're so mature, you're wise beyond your years, you don't
Yeah.
seem like you're X number of years
Years,
old.
whatever. 10, 12, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But this was like well before Enneagram or like any of me understanding like anything, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I've always been told that I read more mature. Maybe I'm an old soul. No. No,
No.
you're not.
You just learned how to manage the emotions of the adults in your life. Let's go
Worthy.
through the numbers a little bit and what
Yeah.
excuses they
Yeah,
might
yeah.
be making. I mean, we can
Let's do it.
speculate. Everybody's kind of where that came from could be different. I mean, but we speculate a little bit on that. But what are these? As you're listening to this, I guess what I'm getting to is how can you question this? If you're listening to this and you're thinking about yourself and your number, how do you start to question? How do you get to curious about what does it mean for me to not attach that thing to my identity anymore? Yeah. Okay. So we've kind of touched on 2 and 5. If a 2 or a 5 is listening to this podcast and has any questions, I mean, shoot, please reach out. Or you got a different opinion, we want to hear from you. But maybe
Yes.
we do 1. Let's go to 1.
Yeah. Let's go to 1. I have heard a couple of different ones say this in different ways, but call it OCD is not the right word. But it's, oh, that's my, OCD tendency. Or that's
Yeah.
my, sorry. That's my, perfectionism kicking
Yeah.
in. And another one that I've heard from a 1 recently is, I think I'm standoffish and just maybe hard to read.
Ooh, self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
If I'm guessing that one correctly, they don't listen to this podcast. I wish they would. But
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The hard to read, I hear that a lot. And I think this person does too. Oh, you're hard to read. But then it becomes about, well, how don't get attached to that ones. Like you don't have to be. Also,
Right.
you can still like show up super authentic and their perception
Yeah.
is their perception doesn't necessarily make it true unless you decide it's true.
Exactly. Exactly. I also, in this particular one, I am not afraid to be like, you're really hard to read right now. Are you mad? Are you like, what? What is it?
You have a feeling in there. I would say that's
Yes.
a thing too
Yes.
for ones is this belief that in order to be good, they can't express their emotions. The emotions are bad belief that's in ones,
Yes.
particularly anger, right? If it's a perceived negative emotion, they definitely shy away from that even more in terms of expressing it outwardly. That emotion still exists in you just because you're not expressing it outwardly.
Yes.
And
Yep.
yeah, you gotta work on that part of it and allowing yourself.
Yeah.
Um, I think for ones, yeah, they're also so self-deprecating
Yeah.
that those can become the I am statements, kind of the labeling of things. Where and again, for I think for one, it's a lot of I'm not good enough. I will never be perfect. I will never be good enough. Kind of attachment to that kind of identity.
Definitely. So the curiosity for 1 might be trying to understand when you're feeling that way in the moment. And are you having a feeling? It might be a body feeling.
Yeah. Might get hot, sweaty
Yeah.
palms, red face. Yeah.
Tense
Racing heart.
shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a first step to understanding that you're having a feeling and then being able to talk about it. Yeah.
Let's
Are
jump
we
to
going in order? I
threes. I mean, I
was
think we
gonna
can kind of
say,
go in order. We started with 1. We've got a little rogue the last couple, so maybe outside of
we
2 and
have.
5 we go kind of in order. So if we
Great.
If we jump to 3, and the 3, it's the I'm a winner, right? I'm successful. I'm whatever this image is that I need to project that comes with the 3. There's a I was sharing this with a 3 this morning a little bit about the adaptability of it, the chameleon-like behavior that can
Yep.
happen with 3s and how it can be unnerving.
For
And I
other
don't
people,
yes, for
you
other
mean?
people. Yeah. When I experience it in a 3, where they've shown up a certain sort of way for a while, and you're like, okay, that's who they are, and then they show up completely different. I'm always a
Yeah.
little bit like, which one is the real you?
Got it.
And the 3 I was talking to was sharing like, what's that understanding that 3s have of what they got to do to be successful, and so they bend in that direction. And this isn't exactly about their excuses, but a little bit, right?
A little bit because oh, you can adapt because you want to win. Aren't you
Yeah.
curious about the impacts of that or why you do that? It's funny you say that because another 5 told me one time about a 3 that she perceived them as a wolf in sheep's clothing. And the reason was because, well, they show up this way over here and in front of this audience, but then I see this sometimes and it just feels icky, is how she described it. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. I totally get it. It's like what version of you is the real you?
Yeah. And how do it's a little bit too like I don't know who am I navigating today? And this is the part where 3s get get the inauthentic label because they can chameleon based on their environment. And
Right.
I think what I've learned in working with Brandon, I'd be curious if you see it the same way, is like adaptability is good. Like you want to be adaptable. You don't want to be rigid. You want to be flexible. You want to be able to understand your audience and show up in a way with a message that lands with whoever your audience is. And do I expect that people will be the exact same person in front of their boss as they are in front of their peer group or in front of a friend? No, not necessarily. Like, yeah, you're not gonna, drop as many F-bombs in front of your boss as you do in front of your best friend. Sure. But this this idea of like being truly authentic is where when you're adaptable but from a truly authentic place, that's where like all like the power and magic is. And if you really understand yourself and you aren't attaching yourself to the all of the I am statements and you're you at your core, that adaptability is different. It shows up different. It doesn't give people the ick, so to speak, because you're still you. Brandon always talks about it's the energy enters the room before the person does.
Yeah.
And someone who truly is like grounded and understands like what what they're there to show up as or whatever. I'm not saying this art very well. Brandon says it better. But when they're showing up Like, you don't need all that. You don't need to fake it. You don't need to, right? It will just happen in an authentic way.
Yeah, the way I see it the same way, Brandon also has described it to me before when I've had a call with him and I'm really amped up about a situation. We move through an experience, right? Like, okay, where's that living? How does that tie, right? But it goes back to alignment with your values.
Yeah.
And if there's something that you are a part of or that you're doing that isn't aligned with that, that's the inauthentic, right?
Right.
So it will feel and look, the way that you just described, if it's naturally in alignment with what that person's doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it should feel easy. I think the work, and I'm still doing this, is it feels clunky at first because sometimes it shows up like a boundary, sometimes it shows up like dismissing yourself from a situation or a confrontation, or sometimes it's just being completely emotionally detached from the situation and just having the situation be what it is,
Yeah.
which is really, really hard.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
sometimes, most of the time, when it's that hard for me, I've assigned some sort of identity to the thing that I'm angry about.
I think that's a good the authenticity piece is a good transition to 4 while we're going through the list here a little bit. And we talk about 4s and the I am statements a lot. I mean, I opened with that. But I do think 4s label their feelings, attach and then believe they are their feelings.
Yeah,
Yeah. I am sad. I am mad. I am not good at XYZ. I'm
I am
what's
unique.
interest I'm unique. What's interesting is I do believe there's a ton of emotional depth in 4s, but the labeling is so surface. There's no depth in that.
There's swirl in the emotion and the experience that's
Yeah.
happening around the emotion.
Yeah. The other thing about 4s is they move so quickly through their emotions. I was chatting with a leader who has several 4s on their team this last week, and they were talking about that, right? Like how it's that emotional roller coaster where you're like, oh, okay, things are not okay. Oh wait, now we're fine. Oh, things are not okay. Oh, now we're fine. And just sort of the as a leader managing through some of that too.
Yes. Yes. It's funny. I've talked about on here my niece, I suspect, is a 4. She's 8. She kind of threw me this weekend because she was talking. I heard about a friend situation, and this friend, my niece has been talking about this other friend that she wanted to play with, right? But so my sister, who's her mom, was like, well, why isn't so and so invited to your birthday party? And she's like, oh, this other friend doesn't like it when I play with her because she thinks that she's going to take me away from her. So my 9 sister is trying to like help her navigate because, and I believe this is the right thing, like my sister does not want to intervene, right? Because my niece, of course, asked my sister, like, can you call her mom and be like, I need her to step off? My sister's like, no, like, you need to go have this conversation. But my 4 niece is very, like, trapped in the feeling of, like, oh, I'm going to make that person feel that way. I'm going to
Mm,
make her sad. I'm going to make her mad. And so she's stuck in it. So she won't even have, she is not at a point yet where she will have the confrontation to understand what it looks like moving forward. Adults
Right.
have the same thing.
Yeah, well, that's the whole, I mean, that's all of it, right? Like, what a perfect example for growing up and still doing the 8-year-old behavior.
Yes.
How many times is somebody like, I don't want to go have that conversation. Will you have that conversation for me? I need to give you some
This is,
feedback, but
yes.
I'm not willing to give that person the feedback. Can you do it
This
for
is
me?
why people have weddings that are 400 people deep, because nobody knows where to draw the line. Nobody wants the confrontation if you invite these 5 people and then don't invite these other 4 people. Oh
Oh,
my God.
man. And the people pleaser children who are like, well, I can't hurt their feelings. Yeah. I think some of that, this is a bit of a rabbit hole, but some of that goes back to it's the same, right, as being told you were mature all the time or whatever. It's this, I remember being like told all the time, well, you don't want to hurt their feelings, do you?
Yeah.
And like this idea of standing up for yourself or not inviting the person that you don't want to invite or whatever, meaning that you're hurting that person instead of like being taught that everybody's sort of in charge of their own feelings. And yeah.
It's the how would you feel?
Yeah.
Which might be the wrong question
It might be.
in some cases.
And I, you know, I'm I'm passing a lot of judgment on my parents in some of these things that we're talking about, and I totally get that they did the best they could with what they knew at the time.
Yeah.
I think our generation of parents is very different, like crazy different. And so what will the be the thing, right? Like,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is Generation Alpha and Generation Beta gonna be a bunch of mostly fours because we let them
We're
stew in their
so busy honoring
feelings?
emotions.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh God.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like we're navigating the so my niece was over last night and my 7-year-old phrases it because I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. My niece is 8. Whenever she comes over, they both want to play with her. They don't always want to play the same thing. So sometimes what happens is like 2 of them get started on something, then the other one wants them to play something else, but they're calling it them feeling left out. Like I'm being left out. No, you're not. Actually not. You're just being bossy. You're just waiting for them to like want to immediately drop what they're doing and go do the thing that you want to do. That's
Yes.
not being
Yeah.
left out.
No, they would happily include you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's move to sixes so we don't run out of time today.
6.
Six. Six and four are actually, I think, a little similar in this, in the
Yeah.
attachment to the feeling of, now it's not the same exact way that fours do it, but it's the, I'm anxious, I need to be prepared. I'm trying to think of like a really good I am statement I've heard from a six.
I'm always the prepared one.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
what happens if I don't bring the snacks? And then
Right.
people don't have snacks.
Or like what happens if I haven't planned through every worst case scenario? Like, I think about it
Yes.
in situations with Laura where I have 100% benefited from the fact that she has everything and that she is the prepared one. I have benefited from that multiple times. But what's the worst thing that happens if she hadn't had the extra towel or the extra gel or the extra whatever? Well, I would have
Yep.
survived and maybe remembered better myself the next time, or like made do. I would have made do with whatever it was that I had in that situation. So you don't have to be that for everybody.
No. No. You don't have to be that for everybody. And the worst case scenario usually doesn't happen.
No. I remember I used to work really closely with a six. I don't work as closely with them now, but I used to work very closely with them. And I remember working on different situations with them where we would spend a lot of time, hours of time, talking through this scenario, that scenario. If this happens, then what about this? If I do this, then what about this? If that person says this, then what about this? What about this? What about that? What if we walk in the back door of the building and we experience this upon entry of the building? Not a single time, not one single time did any of the scenarios we played out end up being the scenario we experienced. Not one single time.
How it goes.
It always was different. The person always surprised. One of the things I was thinking about that, and as we were talking through this topic or whatever, and I've been thinking about it, is it has to do with where we also, so it's the excuse every number. Oh, I'm a six, therefore that's why I have to plan everything out. I'm a six, that's why I have to talk through 25 scenarios. I'm a six, blah, blah, blah. So it's all of that, but then it's also where we assign the intent of other people. So if we are assuming a negative intent of the other person when we're scenario planning, and then we go into the situation and they're like, yeah, that's cool. Because they don't actually have negative intent. We're surprised by it. And I would say is like with sixes, right? When they're scenario planning, worst case scenario, it is in fact the negative,
Negative
right? Worst
intent.
case. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
You and I have
absolutely.
talked about it too before where you and I have to have some very uncomfortable conversations as part of our day jobs. And there's a non-confrontational form of interviewing that you and I
Yeah.
sometimes use. I am always freaking surprised when that sucker works. Always surprised. Never fails. I always plan the conversation for the resistance. So it's like that's just like part of human nature on one hand, but then it's like questioning it. The last time I did it and it worked, and I was like, why do I always think it's not going to work? Why wouldn't I believe that it is going to work?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because if you don't go into it, it feels a little bit like self-fulfilling prophecy when you plan for the worst case scenario because something shitty happens that you weren't expecting. But if you just like do the thing that you always do, that you've done 100 different times or similar to if it's a different situation, usually it works out just fine.
It's never as bad as you imagine it to be. Never.
No. All right. Sevens.
Sevens. I hear the I am label from sevens probably more than any
Oh,
other
yeah.
number.
Maybe it's because they're so lovable.
Maybe.
Like,
seven.
oh, forgive me, I'm a seven, like I'm just
Yeah.
gonna keep it light. I hear that all the time from them. Like, that's uncomfortable. I'm a seven. I can't do that. No, I will
uh,
see you later.
yeah. And I think they do attach to the I'm the fun one. I'm spontaneous. I I
Yes.
remember one seven telling me at one time that her dad used to tell her all the time that she was his bright and shining light.
Wow.
And so it was then I'm going to be that for you all of the time. I'm going to be fun. I'm going to be easy. I'm going to be like, let's play the game. Let's do it on the adventure. Yeah.
Yes. I had a seven tell me not that long ago, the 7 that you and I know, I was describing a situation that I had to do something that, like, was just part of something that I had to do, not something I wanted to do. This person's like, "Well, I don't think it's any big secret you're not here to make friends." And selfishly, in that moment, I'm like, You're damn right. I'm
Yeah.
not." It was a little bit of a moment where I was proud of myself because normally, like, the 2 in me would be like, "Well, wait, what? What do you mean?
What do you mean?
You don't like
Yeah.
me?" And it was like this little micro moment of growth for me where I was like, "Yep, I'm not."
Interesting.
Yeah, it felt great.
Yes.
But it was through the vein of, like, we have the, like, it's fun over here, like, we keep it light, we do, X, Y, and it's gonna be fine, it's all gonna be fine. You let me know when it doesn't go fine and how fast you run away from that.
I think for the 7 too, some of them, freedom is very, I mean, I think freedom's very important to all 7s, but some of them, it's maybe more, like, prominent. I don't prominent's not the right word, but you know what I mean, like, it shows up for them in in the incredible opposite of a 6, of the, "Oh, well, I don't make plans ahead of time. Oh, well, I don't wanna commit to that thing." And again, it's the, I don't wanna be tied, and so I don't care if it inconveniences you, I don't wanna be tied down. That
Yes.
would feel like a loss of freedom to me.
Yep.
And so the challenge in that is, how do you question, like, is your desire for freedom creating negative impact somewhere else? Or where did that come from? Like, what did you attach to as a small child that made you believe that planning something 6 months out is too big of a commitment?
Yes. Yes. It's actually a pretty good segue into 8
Yeah.
because I have an example of 8. My loving husband, my 8 husband. So my in-laws were out on vacation for a week a while ago. They've since retired, and teeny tiny rabbit hole, my father-in-law has found connection to the nature in his very suburban backyard and fills the bird feeders like twice a week. He, like, feeds the rabbits, feeds the squirrels, like, all the things.
Yeah.
And he this is a really good example. So my brother-in-law, I don't know what his type is, but every time my in-laws need something, like in this situation, my father-in-law wanted the bird feeders filled for the birds. They will never text my husband and ask him to do any of that, ever. And the reason is because my husband has trained them now to realize that if it is an attempt to control him or his time or any of his resources, it's a no. It, an immediate, unequivocal no. It's not happening. And a request like this, right, might seem silly to him, but it's a thing of, you expect me to waste my time to go feed your wild birds that mean nothing to me.
Right.
When he drives by, like, could you just do the thing for your dad maybe once? Like, just, but fast forward, he did not feed the birds, nor did my brother-in-law, and now they have far less birds because they didn't fill the feeders for a week, and my father-in-law won't shut up about it. So,
What I would say there too is, like, the in the yeah, to your point, it's like like, I'm resisting you controlling my time. I don't wanna take the 5 minutes or the
yeah,
15 minutes, whatever it might be. I'm resisting you controlling my time. I can relate to, like, the annoyance of that, but sometimes when we get attached to these things, and like, I think about it, it's like the inconvenience of community. It's the inconvenience of family. It's
Yeah.
the, like, you want these things in your life,
Yeah.
which means sometimes you're going to be inconvenienced.
Well, and that's the thing is like my in-laws drop everything to help us all the time. Like they are both retired, so if my kids are sick and neither one of us have a possibility of being like they are here, they help with they used to help with vet appointments in the middle of the day. My father-in-law painted our entire basement, and when we did a remodel, the whole first floor, they're lovely human beings that do a lot for us. They watch our kids all the time. Like, can we just fucking fill the bird feeder?
Why? Now, there's something else for your husband to unpack there, right? Like, whatever his resistance is to that request.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a bit of a rabbit hole, and we still have to get to nines. But I was reading a thing about that, like how we have now started to lose community because we know we don't want to inconvenience anyone. So instead of asking someone to pick us up from the airport, we Uber. Instead
Yep.
of being like going over to the neighbors to like be like, oh, can I borrow, as cliche as it is, can I borrow a cup of sugar? You
Right.
now DoorDash or,
Yeah.
whatever.
You don't want to put
And
anybody out.
you don't want to put anybody out. And therefore, we're losing a lot of community that we used to have before we had all of these like convenience sort of
Yep.
things.
Yep.
Yeah.
One other like teeny tiny example of the control for an eight, it's like, I'm an eight, I won't be controlled, is whenever my father-in-law and my husband do work like out at recreational land, my husband will not ride with his dad. He will drive himself separate because his dad drives back ways back and drives too slow, and he's got like other things that he wants to do. It's like it's crazy. It's a whole
Yeah.
like you're not going to control me. I'm an eight. Like no.
Direct. I do what I want.
Yeah, I
Well,
do what I want. You're not going to tell
I do what I
me
want.
what I'm going
Yep.
to do and what I'm not going to do.
Yep. Again, there's like a
Nice.
healthy balance. There's a healthy balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
9.
Nine. Nine. We touched on this last week too, like where they're aware, but they just
Yes.
want to avoid so badly that it doesn't matter. Like they're aware. They're fully aware that they're avoiding conflict, but they want to avoid so badly, they're just going to keep avoiding conflict.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was, that post I read earlier, right? That I'm bad at conflict, that for sure. Or and they want to avoid conflict so badly, it can become the limiter in their life. They're so attached to that. I'm the peacemaker. I'm the calm
Yes.
one. I don't rock the boat. I support everyone or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
it can become self-limiting for them, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because there's is sometimes what builds like the strongest relationships. Like when you move through conflict and you get on the other side of it and you can have that like uncomfortable conversation, there's so much trust that's gained from that.
Yes, it's trust. There's a lot of positive things too, right? In the they're not going to leave you. It's that realization, right? Of, oh, we just had a disagreement or we just had a whatever, and they're not leaving.
Yep.
They stayed.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the nines, when they're like, I don't want to, they're probably the chief of the, I don't want to inconvenience anyone else. That was the word I was trying to think of. Inconvenience. They're probably like chief of that.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I go along to get along. I'm the, what if you did inconvenience someone?
Maybe it worked out better for you for the long run or the short run. Maybe you actually got what you wanted for once. That doesn't always have to be just making sure the other person is okay.
My acts like a 9 has been, that's to unpack on another day. My acts like a 9 has been flaring up recently, I've noticed. So,
Oof.
and I attach to it as a responsibility thing. So,
Oh,
so anyway, we can unpack that on another day. We don't got time for that today. This was good though. This was a bit
this
of a
was great.
meandering conversation, but I kind of liked it. We mostly stayed
Yeah.
on topic. We mostly went in order.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would love to
This
hear
was
from
great.
you. Yeah, if you have thoughts, opinions, how it shows up for you, where you use your number as an excuse or behaviors as an excuse that you've attached to your identity, we'd love to hear about that and what you're doing to work on it if you're working on it. Or even if you're just like, oh man, I got a new awareness. That's cool too.
Like, subscribe, leave us a review, all the things.
All that stuff's super helpful. You can find us on all the platforms except for Facebook, and we are on Substack now. So if you like to consume things as written, every week we do a bit of a written version post of the podcast if you'd rather read it. Yeah.
Thanks, Holly.
Cool. All right, I'll talk to you later, Tannah.
Talk to you later.